Welcome, everyone. We're going to get started here in a moment. I'm very excited to have you. I know we've got a lot of people joining, so I'm probably going to wait 60 seconds or so to let everybody on here. So come, make sure you have some great questions. It is going to be jam-packed. There's a lot of information that I want to share with you tonight, important information. And Sean's also with us, and I'll explain his role and why I asked him to be a part of this and to join me. Remember that we got our chat box. Chat box is at the bottom. So if you have questions, I'm going to try and get to as many questions as we can tonight. If not, we'll also get to some of them tomorrow and just email you. So feel free to use the chat box. Feel free to throw in questions there, how we can help you, what you need to know, because there's a lot of confusing stuff going on, and I'm going to clear up hopefully most of that for you tonight. So we'll still maybe wait another 60 seconds to get everybody on here. And Matt, is everybody able to join right? I just want to make sure we're not having any tech glitches or anything crazy going on. Do you see people able to get on easily? All right, Susan, thank you. Thank you for letting me know that this is working good. And thank you, Matt, for letting me know. All right, so we are going to get started. I waited 2 minutes. That's good enough patience for me because we got way too much to cover tonight. So Gabe, I see your question about gold. It's not a scam. We're going to answer as many as we can right now. So let's jump into it. All right. We're going to cover FedNow. I'll explain what FedNow is. I'm going to introduce you to Sean, ask him to tell a story real quick. Then we're going to go into the digital dollar, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And of course, most of it is bad and ugly. So Sean Boz, he's on here tonight. He came on here as a personal favor to me. He's the senior vice president of Advantage Gold. He's got a tremendous amount of knowledge about the whole digital dollar and all that. So he's going to be answering some of the questions. I'm going to kind of bounce some things off of him, but I want to discuss first, what is FedNow? So FedNow goes into effect July 1, at the beginning of July. FedNow is the Fed's new payment system. And the easiest way to explain it, the simplest way to explain it is it's like Cash App or Venmo. So anybody that's used Venmo, you know, that's an instant direct payment. That is what FedNow is. So all the banks can use it. All the feds can, send stuff, and it's instant transactions. So you're no longer waiting for a wire. You're no longer delayed. And again, it's rolling out the very first week of July. So FedNow is not a digital currency. That's important to know. But since I'm from the SPY world, what I've been telling everybody, what I've been telling my private clients, it's the slippery slope to lead to the digital currency. Because in the SPY world, when you recruit somebody, you don't immediately come out with the hardest thing and say, hey, how would you like to betray your country and spy for the United States? You lead them down the slippery slope and say, hey, I'm an American businessman. Could you just give me that phone number and, I'll pay you for it? You don't go for the kill immediately. Well, that's what FedNow is it's getting Americans more acclimated, more brainwashed to lead them to the digital currency. Sean, I know we were talking about FedNow right before we started this live. What do you throw in your 2 cents about FedNow?
Well, we were talking a little bit earlier, Jason, about, what are the pros and cons of FedNow? And, I was looking at some of the pros of it, and the only pro I found out that I can see of a pro is that if you want to send a buddy, friend, client, cousin money on the weekend or after hours, you're allowed to do that. Meaning the banking system never closes. It stays open 24/7. So to a lot of people, that's a pro. To me, that's a complete con. So that's where I'm looking at the ins and outs of everything. It's basically a clearing financial system that's going to allow end-to-end users 24-hour access to everything. 365 days a week, 7 days a week. 365 days a year, 7 days a week, 24/7. So I can't see many pros into it. I've been looking into it myself. It's a breach of privacy and all things considered.
So before I have you introduce yourself more, before I have you tell your story, I want to talk about the client we also talked about right before we jumped on here. And you didn't finish the whole story for me, but I know you had a client. They were trying to buy some gold. Something happened with their bank. Some crazy. So anyway, tell the story. That way, that way we can hear it, because I know I'm butchering it.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So I had a client who she heard from a few weeks ago about this whole digital currency that's coming out. And her concern was that she has 4 mutual funds for 4 grandkids. And her concern was that these 4 mutual funds, Jason, were held inside of Wells Fargo, the bank, the institution. So she said to me, she said, Sean, I want to get out of these mutual funds and I want to get them into my gun safe. Can you show me how we can do this? What's the fastest, most efficient way to do this? So I said, no problem. First step is going to the bank, which is a big step, in actually creating the bank wire from the bank to us. So she lives in a place called Corpus Christi, Texas, which a lot of people have heard of before, right? And she drove to a bank out in Corpus Christi, which is a Wells Fargo. And she did this actually on Monday. And while she went to the bank, she was kind of uneasy about everything. And she actually was telling the banker herself about where she wanted to send the wire to. So the banker didn't even look up where she was sending the wire to, actually just stopped the wire all of itself and declined the wire. So the client called me and said, Sean, we've got a problem. And I said, Barb, what's the problem? She goes, the bank denied my wire. And I go, what was the reason for that? Well, she goes, well, they weren't investigating you or your company. They're investigating me. You see that? See the caveat on that? So she went home and she thought about it. And I told her to go back home to go to another bank the next day and try it out. So she went to another branch and the banker called me the next day to verify who I was, what company that I was with. And the banker asked me for my credentials, asked me to send me an email to him verifying who I was. So I called it out and I said, I'll tell you what, why don't you send me an email to verify who you are? Because I don't know who you are. So the banker hung up the phone. You're going to love this. Hangs up the phone. The client calls me back 10 minutes later from her car. And she says, hey, the wire's done. And I said, what? Already? She goes, yeah, the wire's done. The banker didn't want to deal with this anymore. So he just released the funds and gave it to you all. So that's what's happening right now. It's not just 2 days ago. It's happening today, tomorrow, Friday, next week. This is what's taking place right now.
Yeah, that's kind of stories that I've heard before drive me nuts, where you go to Wells Fargo or Bank of America, whomever, and they're, basically controlling your money and say, no, we're not going to send that wire. We're not going to do this and that, which is, of course, why I love tangible assets. But I'm looking at some of the questions here, guys. And FedNow is going to do Social Security. It's going to do all the government things. And it's instantaneous. Like I said, it's a Cash App. It's a Venmo. But it also is that slippery slope going down there to the digital currency, to the digital dollar. Now, of course, as they say, when they released FedNow, they said, oh, this is not going to be a digital currency ever. We're not thinking about a digital currency, which anytime the government says it's not going to be something we're not thinking about it, that's exactly what they're thinking. That's a whole danger. Before we get to going into the digital dollar, and I can tell you what I know about it, of course, I've got my insider connections. I talk to anybody and everybody to try and hear everything to make sure there's nothing I'm missing. I want to tell Sean's story because Sean, I've gotten to know him. He and I are not best friends, meaning we've known each other for a while, but I know he has a horrible, tragic story of almost dying. He lost some of his finger. How many fingers did you lose, by the way? Like what?
I lost 3 fingers.
Okay.
And
so what is your story? Meaning
I wore short sleeves, Jason, just for tonight, just so you know.
But obviously I'm big into preparing. I've got all my food storage, my gold, my silver, my water storage. I know that for lack of a better word, your awakening moment was when you almost died.
Yeah.
So since I've never actually heard the real story, like tell it, what happened to you?
Yeah. So thanks for asking. June 11th, 2020.
So recently, not that many years ago then.
Yeah. You know what? June 11th was my 3-year anniversary where I suffered. So guys, I got into an ATV accident. Okay. I was a big rider on ATVs. I was big into that whole thing. And during COVID, as we all know, there was circumstances that kept us at home, right? And I'm not a guy that likes to stay home. So I went for a ride in my, what they call Polaris side-by-side ATV. And this was a Thursday afternoon, June 11th, 2020. I went out for a day ride, 3:30 in the afternoon. I didn't go back home for 15 months.
So, where
my,
are you riding, by the way? Like, where
I
are
was
you?
riding Las Vegas. I was riding Las Vegas, and I was coming from a dirt road onto a paved road, which, by the way, I was only going 10 miles an hour at the time of the accident. My ATV turned over on its side and caught on fire. So what I wanted to show everyone, let everyone know, is that I'm wearing short sleeves, which I usually don't do these days, by the way, Jason, but just for your people, I did, is I'm showing my skin. So I got trapped inside the ATV. I got burnt pretty much throughout the whole entire body. The only place that was saved was my face, so to speak, right? Other than that, in my hair, God bless. Other than that,
Priorities.
which everyone knows is an important thing to me. But other than that, my whole entire body, guys, is burnt. So I was in a medically induced coma. First of all, let me rewind a little bit back to the trapping of the accident. I got trapped inside of the ATV. And the gentleman that saved me was an employee of Advantage Gold, by the way. So he worked for us, which is, God bless him, right? So he pulled me out of the accident. He pulled me out of the ATV. And I actually woke up, Jason, believe it or not, in a hospital bed 2 weeks after. And I woke up in a hospital bed, and my whole entire hospital room was covered with pictures. I had pictures of my girlfriend, pictures of my dog, pictures of the family, even pictures of Donald Trump, believe it or not. So I lost 3 fingers, suffered 70% burns to the entire body. I had 47 surgeries. I had 2 trachs in me. I was eating out of a tube for 4 months, which everyone that knows me knows that that's a painful thing because I love to talk so much. So I couldn't talk for 4 months. It was a tough time. It was a tough time. So I went through a lot physically, as we all know, right? You suffer some damages to your body, but I also went through a lot mentally as well, because my life, as we know, was never going to be the same. But I got to tell you, the main talking point for today, which I want your guys to know, more importantly, is that my physical freedom was taken away from me. My mental freedom was never taken away, right? I still had my mental control, but my financial freedom was being taken away from me, because at that time, the election was going on. And I was watching what was transpiring from the hospital day by day by day and seeing everything go on. And that's when I really started to get busy doing things. So the story of me actually getting released after the hospital after 9.5 months, the only reason is because at that point in time, the hospital actually wanted me to get vaccinated. Yeah. So that's the only reason why I got sent home. Wasn't because I was getting better, wasn't because of, my condition was getting stronger mentally or physically. Was only reason was because I wouldn't take the actual vaccination, so they sent me home.
I cannot believe they kicked you out of the hospital because of that.
Yeah.
Like, aren't you supposed to take care of your patients no matter what? No matter what? I mean, again, freedom of choice. Holy crap.
By the way, I had the best, so I had some great medical insurance too, by the way, at that point in time, but still it didn't matter. So yeah.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're with us and can join us today. So let's kind of, that's insanity. So let's kind of pivot, because as I'm listening to your story, I'm looking over here, and Gabe says, hey, my wife thinks I'm a conspiracy theorist when I tell her about the digital dollar. She thinks I'm gullible. Gabe, you're not a conspiracy theorist. You're not gullible at all. The long story short is, and one of the main things we're obviously going to talk about tonight is, weeks ago, Biden signed an executive order, and it said, hey, I want you to investigate the creation of a central bank digital currency. We want to have a digital dollar, right? And if you actually read the executive order, which of course most of them are boring and it's a snooze fest, but there's crazy stuff in there. And one of them was some of the stuff I highlighted, like one section of it says, my administration places the highest urgency on research and development efforts into the potential design and deployment options of a United States central bank digital currency. Then it talks about also that they want to work with people and make sure it's climate change friendly and it's inclusive. So when you look at it, it's like, wait a minute, what does the dollar, whatever the physical asset or is, money, have to do with climate change, have to do with inclusion? It's an object, meaning it's a dollar. You can do what you want with it. You can spend it how you want, type of thing. But basically it's written to appease his constituents and be like, all right, if any liberals read this, we've mentioned climate change, we've mentioned inclusion, we mentioned that, there's going to be, he didn't say spread the wealth. He didn't use those exact words, but, we're going to make sure it's diversity with it and everything. So it's crazy when you read the whole executive order. Now, anybody who has honest and integrity knows that a digital currency is only for controlling people. That's the only reason the government does it. Because when you look at things, guys, you have to look at it from the side of the adversary. So when we were, in the CIA, when you're recruiting people, you say, okay, what does this guy want? What's really going to what's going to float his boat? If you're dealing with somebody bad, which a lot of times you are, what is this criminal? What's going to spin his wheels? I've got to think of his mind. Well, if I'm a government, what do I want? I want to control people. I want to know exactly what they're doing. It's how I've got 6 kids and they're young because I didn't have kids until after I left the CIA. But I obviously want to control my kids. I want to know what they're doing. I want to make sure they're not on the computer doing anything inappropriate. And as my oldest daughter said, they learn in school about United States of America, we're a free nation. And then, of course, when you tell them anything, they're like, oh my gosh, I live in a free country. You can't tell me that. And I always say, this house is a dictatorship. Your mother and I are dictators, right? Outside there is a free country, but inside this house, it ain't a free country, kind of thing. And the government wants to treat us like I treat my 3-year-old kid, like my 5-year-old daughter, type of thing. And so the digital dollar is obviously a horrible idea. There's no real benefit to it. Bitcoin is decentralized. So Bitcoin is good because no government controls it. And because the supply of Bitcoin can only be increased by a mining schedule, right? A predetermined schedule. However, if you have a digital dollar, well, the US government, just like everything else, can print funny money and say, okay, we need money. Now let's add $1 trillion digital dollars. Let's add another 5 trillion digital dollars. But the biggest problem is that it is traceable and that also everything is taxable. So I was telling Sean here is I went to some car wash. It was a car wash / detail. And I gave the guy $80 in cash to wash my car in detail, right? That guy's probably never going to claim that $80 I paid him. And guess what? I don't care. It's his own business, what he does with money. If he doesn't want to claim that $80 in income, whatever, it doesn't matter to me. Now, when they're going to try and make everything digital and eventually phase out all kinds of physical money, everything you do, they can see. So they can see, hey, Jason just paid this guy $80 at a car wash and he didn't claim it. Or Jason gave his lawn guy $30 to mow his lawn and he didn't claim it. So everything's going to be taxable. It's going to be a nightmare for all what we think is cash transactions where we don't care on people doing that kind of stuff. Because again, I could care. I pay my taxes, stay out of there, but whatever you do doesn't matter to me. But the traceable thing is the biggest problem. So I talk to, I talk to people from both sides, meaning I want to hear the whole 9 yards, even though I'm very conservative. Everybody knows that. I believe in freedom above everything else, is that I want to talk to both sides. And the left guys I know, they're like, Jason, they're never going to restrict what you do. They're never going to care. They're never going to watch you. Guys, you forget who you're talking to. I worked at the agency. I know how it really works. I'm not an idiot. So the way it looks is, since they can trace everything, they could theoretically say, hey, Jason, we know you love guns. We know you buy a lot of ammo. We're going to restrict you where you could only buy 1 box of ammo every 60 days. Or, hey, Jason, we know you buy a gun every month because we see this. We're going to only allow you to buy a handgun every year or every 2 years. Or, hey, Jason, you probably own a lot of AR-15 rifles, which, yes, I do. Many of them off the books. But now you can only buy an AR-15 rifle every 3.5 years. So if you don't think the government's going to do that, why wouldn't they? They've done things like this before. So that's what kills me. And when people are like, hey, they're never going to do anything kind of stuff. So I see, David say Bitcoin is not real money. I don't care if you love or hate Bitcoin. What I like about it is it's not government controlled and it's decentralized. So I'm not saying anybody has to invest in Bitcoin. You can think it's the devil, but the government doesn't control it. And the new digital dollar, they will control. So yeah, I'm seeing Jeff here say, like, give up your guns. We're the government. We're going to protect you. It's like great shirt with the Indian, and the Indian has all the arrows in them. And it says, hey, give up your guns. We'll take care of you, kind of thing. Well, that's the same thing. They're not, when they release this digital dollar, they're not going to immediately start taking physical currency away. They're not, again, it's a slippery slope. They're not going to say, hey, you got to turn in all your coins. You got to turn on all your bills immediately. They're going to phase it out over time. I don't know if that's going to be a 5-year phase out, a 10-year phase out, but their goal is to eventually get rid of everything because it's much easier to control people when you see exactly what they do. And again, I know this. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead, Sean.
This phase out can happen in 2 days. I mean, we're ending the quarter, guys, on Friday. It's the end of the quarter. We're also heading into July 1st on Saturday, which is this big reset. I'm going to use my quote unquote fingers. We have a big reset coming up on the 1st, right? That we got to talk about. So the one thing, so now that we're kind of pivoting into, let's talk about how we can protect your clients into physical metals.
Well, so I want to share, before we go to that, I want to share some of the stuff I'm doing because that was somebody asked me tonight. But I mean, because I want to go over a few more things about the digital dollar, some notes I wrote that people asked me to answer.
Yes.
Is, what is your take on it? What do you think's gonna happen? What is your belief? Because I know you talk to a lot of people, you have a lot of knowledge on this. What do you believe about the digital dollar that's coming down the pipeline?
So a client just asked me that earlier, and I use this fundamental analogy, which is kind of true. It's almost like, Jason, when you remember when you were a kid and your family, your parents were planning for you to go to a new school, but you didn't know that you were going to a new school yet. But everything was already set in place from the school to the soccer team. Everything was happening beyond you, right? You didn't even know. So it's very typical to what I feel like is happening now. I'm a control freak, okay? Everyone that knows me knows I like to sit on the very first row of the airplane, specifically because I want to sit closer to the pilot so I can be in control, just in case something happens. I know it's crazy, but that's how I am. So for me, I'm seeing this whole, I want to call it new era, new order. The one thing people are not talking about, which your people are talking about because they're preppers, is the loss of control or loss of freedom that's going to be taken away from us, or loss of privacy. So you talk about guns, right? So if you bought a gun last week, right? Imagine now buying a gun next week with this new order, so to speak, how that's going to all be traced. You talk about buying ammos. So buying ammo now, you can't just go buy ammo without it not being traced. So how this kind of supersedes into me, everything now is being traced and monitored now, right? So it's a scary new kind of slippery slope that we're headed into, but nobody knows. Nobody knows what's going to happen July 1st. Nobody knows what's going to happen July 2nd. It's just the idea now is to get ahead and get prepped for what could happen. So let's talk about that.
So I was reading, and I want to read you this quote. This is by the deputy director of the International Monetary Fund. Mm-hmm. He says, by programming a central bank digital currency, money can be precisely targeted for what people can own and what people can do. Which, I mean, this is the deputy director of the IMF saying this, which is of course obvious. I mean, it's the same thing China's doing. China has outlawed private crypto, so you can't have cryptocurrency in China. China already has the CBDC, and they've already said, if you don't play by our rules, we're going to restrict what you can buy. It's the same thing what they're doing with that social credit score, where if you talk bad and they don't like you, they can say, you know what, we're going to have a bad social credit score. That way you have a tougher time running an apartment. That way you have a tougher time getting a loan to buy a car. So governments want control. Luckily, we have the Constitution, Bill of Rights. We're not a communist country. We're not a socialist country. But that doesn't mean that our government, our politicians aren't trying to exert control every single way they can. Another major factor for this whole digital dollar that people aren't talking about enough is a cyber attack. So right now, if Wells Fargo gets hacked, yeah, it screws up people who bank with Wells Fargo, but it doesn't take out every bank in the country. Same thing where we had the bank failures recently. Okay, you have one bank failure, but it wasn't Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and every bank out there. The US government is not the world's greatest at protecting themselves from cyber attacks. And I can tell you from firsthand, if you remember, maybe it was 6-7 years ago, 22 million clearances got hacked by the US government from the OPM. My top secret security clearance was one of them. That means all these rogue nations, South Korea, China, Iran, they all have all my information, which is why I can't travel to many countries now, because they know my true name and all that. So if you don't think the US could be hacked in this central bank digital currency, shutting down everything, and not just shutting down Bank of America, not just shutting down Wells Fargo, I mean, it's, from a criminal's perspective, I look at it as a great thing. And I say great thing, meaning like, hey, if these idiots centralize everything, all we got to do is target one thing to shut it down. And now we can do it. So there's nothing redeemable, nothing good. And I've talked to people who, and you know what they've said, interestingly enough, from all the people I talked to, the only people who would tell me one thing they thought were good is they said, well, guess what? Now you don't need a bank account and everybody can bank. So they said, there's many Americans who are, what do they call it? Debanked or unbanked, 5% of Americans. And they said, now anybody can send money. You don't have to have a bank account. That's the only redeemable thing, which of course means now you can track everybody, even the unbanked. So there's nothing, I mean, and they of course went on to, now it's inclusive. It's not, somebody who's like, now it's not racist because the unbanked are minorities and the banking system can be racist. Don't throw racism. And this is what I told her, don't throw racism at me. So you're just saying that now everybody can be banked. That means everybody can be tracked. So there is no worthwhile quality from this digital currency. I mean, guys, I spent a tremendous amount of time reading this. I spent a lot of time talking to my contacts, and many of them laughed, and they were laughing, being like, and these are guys, agency guys, like, hey, what do we do when we're trying to track somebody? We trace them, we follow them, we run surveillance on them, we know them better than they know themselves, right? Well, guess what? Now we can easily do that with every American, which is great if you're the CIA tracking a terrorist trying to snatch them overseas. Not great when we're talking about 350 people or 350 million in the American. So it's berserk. It's not good. Let me look at some of these and I'll tell you what I'm doing, because that was one of the things. And then I want to go to Sean, and because I've got some of the coins, and I wanted to ask Sean questions while I have him here. And yeah, Brett said maybe everyone doesn't want to be banked. I agree. There's plenty of people who don't want to be banked. And again, freedom of choice. If you don't want to be banked, you don't have to. Who cares? So I'll talk about some of the things I'm doing. And one of the main thing I'm doing is trying to get as many tangible assets as possible. I'm going physical assets, physical. That means cash, that means gold and silver. And I'll show you some of my gold and silver here because I brought some of the coins. I told some of you guys that a few weeks ago, I bought a 20-acre mini farm. And I'm not a farmer, but right now I got 30 chickens and 4 turkeys on my farm. I'm getting ready to buy a bunch of fruit trees. I'm getting ready to buy pigs. I don't know anything about pigs, to be honest, because you remember, I was born and raised just outside of Washington, D.C. So I'm not as far from as farmer as it comes. And I got my 4 turkeys that I can't remember. They're going to be harvested close to Thanksgiving. I'll be watching YouTube to figure out how to lop off their heads, and I'm going to do it myself because I want to learn and pluck the turkeys and all this and that. So I'm doing a lot more things to become self-reliant. That is one of my main things I'm doing with this. And another thing, as I said, I'm stocking up on more cash in my house. I've got well over a month's worth of expenses. I've got my 2 years worth of survival food. I've got hundreds of gallons worth of water. I've got gold and silver, which I'll show you here in a moment. I had one client stocking up on art. Now, this client is very, very wealthy, and he loves art because it can't be tracked, meaning his art dealer he trusts knows it, but the feds don't know that he owns some painting worth millions of dollars. So I know guys who do art. I know guys who do wine, watches. A lot of my clients do very high-end watches, like watches that are 6-figure watches. Again, out of my price range, I don't have 6-figure watches or anything like that. But I just recommend going into as many physical assets, tangible assets as you can, as quickly as you can. I'd say that's one of the most important things that you can do. Alan's telling me I better keep at least one male and female turkey. I do got to do my research, Alan, on turkeys because I've not done the research. This is actually my wife is the knowledgeable one with this, but yes, I've got to do a lot more because I'm not the farmer and I'm figuring this all out. So, and yeah, she does want honeybees also. My wife does want to get a bunch of honeybees and all that kind of stuff. But yes, so I would stock up on that. I'm going to show you the coins I have now because way too many people ask me about them. And hey, Susan, I can sell art. I will let my guys know that. I don't have any art, Susan, because I'm not that wealthy. And because I buy, I guess I do the important, what I think is important, meaning before you go to art, before you go to wine, like get the food storage, get the silver, get the gold, get the land type of stuff. So let's get to some of the coins. And Sean, you're the expert on these, so I want you to chime in on them and go more in detail. So one I'm holding up right here that I have with me, this is the $5 commemorative gold coins. I love these things. They're small, they're portable, they're transactable. Tell me what I'm leaving out on these. And I think you said you have some of these, right?
Well, I do have some of those. Those are actually, that's my
so tell me why I got these from you, meaning why, how did you sell me on these? Tell me
okay, so that right there, just so you know, is if you put that up in front of the screen, that's my favorite fractional US coin that they have. It's beautiful. It's what they call a $5 commemorative coin. If you want to pan out a little bit so everyone can see a little bit. Thanks, Jason. So that right there is about 90% pure gold. Okay. And what I love about it is just you talk about transactability, fractionality. It's an American coin, which I think we all love in itself, right? But that coin specifically, what I love about it, again, I can't give you tax advice or financial advice, but that coin is not on an IRS 1099-B form. So there you go, right there. So that's why I love that coin.
So explain that, because not everybody knows what that means.
Well, meaning for direct delivery purchases, what that means, again, I'm not a financial advisor or tax advisor, so I can't give you that advice. So I want to make sure that we all know that here. But meaning is that coin fits all the needs that an investor has, right? From the buying to the selling to the investing. So for me,
but again, I want you to go back to that IRS form. What is the IRS form that it avoids? That's what I want you to explain.
Well, that's something that that's a slippery slope that we're not able to talk about, Jason, because I'm not a tax advisor or financial advisor. Now, what I can tell you about that coin is that there is a privacy feature about that coin, which I love. Is that what you're alluding to?
Guys, I can tell you. You don't have to, the IRS never knows you own this sucker. Okay. That's dancing around, but I can say it. So this is one of the reasons I wanted this coin is when I'm talking about these tangible assets I buy, I want them not traceable. I don't want the IRS. I don't want any government agency. I don't want nobody to know that whether I have one of these or whether I have 500 of these. So that's why I like it.
Perfect. So I'll let you say that too. Now let's pull out the Kennedy $50, which is
what are these for anybody that wants them? What are these going for right now? Like, what do these sell for?
So those right now, I believe I gave you the prices of those. Can you pull those up real quick? Do you have those?
Yeah, I have them. Yeah. I just want to make sure. So you told me it's $698.
Correct.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure that's the right price. So yeah, it's $700. And I love being able to carry $700 around because right now I'm in New York City. Travel the last few days has been a nightmare. Numerous flights canceled, like a ton of it was horrible beyond horrible. Sitting on planes on hours before they finally canceled it. So I have like thousands of dollars worth of gold sitting in my backpack, which is cool because it doesn't weigh a lot. It doesn't, again, $700. So this is one of the coins I like because it is not tracked and the IRS doesn't have to know about it.
Jason, can you put that coin up one more time real quick?
Which side do you want?
I'll put the obverse and the reverse. Look at the coin. I mean, if you
am I too close? Tell me if I'm too close.
Yeah, if you don't mind panning out a little bit, do you mind turning the coin around for us just so everyone can see the other side of it? There's an obverse and a reverse side. It's beautiful. I mean, look at that. It's absolutely beautiful.
And I like how you send it to me in this plastic doohickey thing. That way they don't all get messed up and all that. So
yeah, we need that plastic thing back, by the way. Just
not a chance. All right, another Another one that I want to talk about. I'm gonna dance around here and confuse you because I know you said the Kennedy, but the one in my hand right now is one of my silver coins I like. So tell me what I'm holding here. Can you see it? And then, all right, you going too?
Yeah.
But mine's the links. So tell everybody what I'm holding.
You are holding a 2023 3/4 ounce silver reverse proof coin. Now let's backtrack a little bit because that coin right there is different than the Kennedy $1/2. It is an IRA approved coin. So that means it fits all the quality and purity requirements to go inside of an IRA. So the coin that I'm holding up right now, if you guys can see this here see, I still have my thumbs and my index finger here on my left hand, so I'm going to use this since I have it. So this is a 2017 Bighorn Canadian sheep. You have the same exact coin, Jason, right there. And if you look at this coin, if you look at the obverse and the reverse, which is basically the front and the back, you can look at the coin's finish, which is beautiful. It's a reverse proof finish. What that means is that if you look into it, you can see your hairline into it. You can see how pretty it is. It's got a mirror glossy finish to it. So this is a type of coin that's specifically for IRAs and direct deliveries. So we want to make sure that you're kind of dancing around, that we make sure that we know, guys, that this coin right here is 99.99% pure silver. So they do not make any higher quality pure silver than this coin. So this is one of my favorite coins, just so you know.
So this one right here, because I wrote down the prices to make sure I didn't butcher them, and I was actually on. So the 3/4 ounce silver links are just I know you have what do you say, the Bighorn, and I got the links. It doesn't matter what animals on them.
Right.
$30.85. And so somebody in the chat box mentioned bartering, and that's what I'm huge on. This is a universal language. If I have a silver coin, if I have a gold coin, everybody knows what that is. And everybody's hands can be greased by gold and silver. Ask me how I know. So that's why you should have them too. And I want gold and silver because maybe I don't want to have to give somebody a $700 coin. Maybe it's a $30 greasing of the palms that I want, which is why I like having both. We mentioned another one of the coins I like. This is the 1964 Kennedy $1/2. You got to have the 1964 because it's 90% silver. After 64, they took it down to 40% silver. So make sure you have the 1964 Kennedy $1/2. And tell them what you told me when I was talking about how I like this coin.
I mean, what part about it? There's
no, you told me like this is the first coin your grandpa gave.
It was the first. So I mean, it was the first coin I was ever given back in the late '80s from my grandfather. And that coin right there, I still have these in my gun safe right now. I mean, in fact, I have these in my gun safe at my mother's house right now, just so you know. So that coin is 0.4 ounces of silver. Okay. Your people know about this better than anyone else. Guys, we're preppers. Okay. We're all prepper friends. Okay. If you get into a bartering exchange situation, silver gets to 30, 45, maybe $100 an ounce. Well, that coin is going to offer you a lot of transactability. So that's why I love that coin. But I want to highlight specifically, again, this is a good point, why your clients got to call our number directly to call us and, talk to us specifically. But that coin is not IRA approved. So it is only specific to direct delivery. I want to keep that in mind. Okay.
Right. So let's answer that question because I know it's going to come up. So this one, direct delivery, which means you're sending coins to my house.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I can't remember, you said this one is IRA approved.
Which both, by the way, both can be sent to your home, Jason. Both.
Right. But this one is not eligible for an IRA, but this one is. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah. So people ask me all the time about this, and I know I always butcher it. So if I call you and I say, hey, I want the Kennedy $1/2, that's easy. I send you guys money. You ship it right to my home. I put it in my gun safe, which I have done.
Yeah.
If I call you and say, hey, I want a little bit, basically 2 steps I believe you should have. I believe you should have a little bit at home, physical hold in your hand, gold and silver, stuff you have at home, but, have the bulk of it in the depository through an IRA or whatever. So if I call you and I say, hey, I want to order a couple thousand to send to my house, that's easy to do. And I say, hey, I've got a lot more in an IRA that I want you to do for me. How does that process work if I have my IRA?
Well, I guess the first question is, do we have our phone number popped up in that bottom chat so everyone can see it, just so you know, because that's really important. Because our phones are open right now, just so you guys know, and our phones are going to be open after we do this, just so you know, Jason, for like another hour and a half.
So they can ask anything on the phones. Meaning they're going to be okay,
So every client is different, right? Everyone has specific needs. Okay, guys. So for the IRA purpose alone, which is again, not everybody qualifies for, right?
All right, but just humor me because again, like I've got buddies who ask me this all the time. Just humor me and pretend I've called you up. I've got the money in my IRA. Like, how does that work? Just because I know several people email me about it, and I know they're on the call right now.
Great question. So just understand this, right, Jason? Let's just say, for example, that your current plan is what they call a paper plan, right? You might have an IRA, let's say Fidelity, right? So your plan that you currently hold right now at Fidelity, guys, only allows you to invest in paper assets, right? Which is stocks, bonds, CDs, mutual funds, gold, excuse me, not gold, annuities, etc. Right? So there's an IRA called a self-directed IRA. Okay, another reason why I encourage you guys to call us and explain to you. So the self-directed IRA allows you to own precious metals as well as other tangible assets, such as real estate. Okay, so you can now own everything that you're doing at Fidelity, Jason, as well as physical assets. So you can be much more expansive with your current investments, right? So forget about just owning gold and silver. You can own stocks, bonds, CDs, mutual funds, real estate, gold, silver. You and I can even invest in a gun shop in Vermont if we wanted to. So we can obtain physical assets with that money.
So right. So when I use a self-directed IRA, and I know you walk through the whole process and all that, we don't want to go in that because it's easy, but it's also boring. So we don't need to go into that part. But I know where my money goes because I've been there. So if I say, hey, I've got my self-directed IRA, I'll just make up this number, $100,000, easy round number. I want to buy $100,000 of gold and silver. You help me choose what I wanted. Where does that $100,000 worth of gold and silver go?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's up to you. Okay, here's the best part that we tell clients, especially your clients, right? We don't want to give your clients choices. We want them to make the choices, right? So for example, you live in Utah, Jason, right? So the closest vault to you actually is in Salt Lake City, not too far from you. So if you have an IRA, you can tax-free and penalty-free keep your metals in what they call, again, I'm gonna use the fingers, an IRS-approved facility. Does that make sense? So what that means is that the IRS has certain depositories throughout the entire country that clients can store their metals. So that's where your metals would be held, tax-free and penalty-free, up until you, remember you, because you're in control, decide to take them out. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So when I was in Las Vegas, I went to one of these depositories, and they're private depositories. Mm-hmm. So the one we went to was the Delaware depository. And let me tell you, it's awesome. I went there in Las Vegas. They let us in, they give us a tour, and they have millions and millions of dollars worth of physical gold and silver stored there. And so you can go look at it all. And of course, there's bodyguards, people surround us, make sure we didn't steal anything kind of thing. But once you put your money into an IRA, gold and silver, or whatever, you send it in one of these private depositories all over the country. They store it. They're insured. I think the guy said they're insured for over $1 billion or whatever amount. And they've got it's like a James Bond movie inside there. I said, being the agency, I've seen amazing security, and their security is up there with the agency. So if somebody tries to drill in the wall, they've got sensors. They've got sensors on the rooftop. They got sensors everywhere. They have you walk through this metal detector thing that detects the amount of gold and silver in your mouth or whatever. I can't remember how the guy explained it, but it was very cool because if you went through this sensor again and it was off the amount it detected when you came in, they would know you had stolen some gold or some silver. So that's where you want to put your gold and silver. It's one of these private depositories, and you can go visit it. You can go check it out. When I was there taking the tour, some guy was there and he wanted to, check out and just stroke or touch. I don't know what he's trying to do with his gold and silver, but he wanted to look at it and stare at it. So that is the cool part, is it's still physical, hold in your hand gold and silver at these private depositories kind of thing.
And Jason, just so, guys, just so everyone knows, I live in Las Vegas, right? As you know, and I'm not trying to play favorites here. Okay. If you live in Texas or you live in Florida, I'm just telling you, this vault here in Boulder City, Nevada, where they just opened up these vaults, I know the owners, they are incredible. The stories that they've told me about these depositories, it's moving, man. It's just truly incredible. So what I encourage your clients to do, because again, everyone's different. So if you have an IRA, if you have a 401k, and you obviously are concerned about everything, give us a call. We'll explain to you all the depositories in and outs and all the secrets about everything too. But that's
So
important.
one of the questions I'm looking at here is somebody was asking something like, hey, you know, the IRS is going to know where it is. Well, that's IRA stuff, meaning you 100% should have physical gold and silver in your home. You should, you know, call Sean or whatever and get it sent to your home that the feds and nobody knows about. But if you have an IRA, they already know what's going on with the IRA. You might as well be making better money off of it and have it better protected by having gold and silver than in some, you know, paper mumbo jumbo that the stock market's going to upload kind of stuff. So that's why I recommend it. It's the best, you know, place to have the retirement money and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I do it. Looking at a few other questions here. Let me just see. There was one I wanted to. Oh, somebody asked about safe deposit boxes being raided by the feds. I don't believe in keeping anything in safe deposit boxes. I told the story. I had a client. I do a lot of private consulting. This client, he had $151,000 in cash in his safe deposit box. And I was like, why do you have all this cash here? And why is it 151,000? He's like, oh, I just add to it. I've been adding to it for, you know, for 20 years type of thing. And I said, one, you can't access it 24/7. Two, you've heard those crazy stories, right? About them raiding safe deposit boxes and taking money. So if you're going to have 151,000 in cash, have it in a gun vault inside your house.
Right.
I mean, I own multiple gun vaults, and I've got my ginormous gun vault that is bolted to the ground, and it's a huge sucker. Inside it, I have my guns, but I also have a fireproof safe. So I have a safe inside a safe, and inside that fireproof safe are my coins, my gold, my silver, my cash, like thousands of dollars worth of cash, thousands of dollars worth of gold and silver. And I want it there because I can easily access it. That's going to sit me pretty for a long time. But retirement money, hopefully money I'm not going to need for a lot of years, that's the IRA stuff. That's going to be the gold. That's going to be the silver in the private depositories, like the one in Las Vegas, like the one in Salt Lake City. And Las Vegas actually is closer to me than Salt Lake City, by the way. That's why I have my stuff in Vegas. Is I 2.5 hours from Vegas, 3.5 hours from Salt Lake City. So that's why I want to have it here. Let me show, because we're jumping around here. I'm going to get to more of these questions. I was asked about other coins I had. I'm going to hold one up here. This one is in a sheet. And because I haven't had to use it yet, I'm not ripping apart the sheets, except you can see one that fell off. Oh, well. So can you see what coin I'm having? Because I'm going to have you tell about it.
Exactly what coin you're holding.
All right. Well, tell them what coin I'm holding then.
That is a 2023 gold quarter-ounce links. So that is, if you want to hold that coin up one more time. So that coin, ladies and gentlemen, that's 24 karat gold. Okay. So it's not as pretty as the American coins, guys. Okay. Because it's got higher quality, higher purity, right? Whereas, so that what you're holding right there is almost a full sheet of gold. You probably took one for your guns or something, huh?
Well, no, what happened is it it fell off. So I've got it here. And so, yes, so it's here. That's why it's here.
Don't walk around New York with that thing later on tonight, because you definitely want to keep that in your pocket. But that right there, you know, it's, if you want to hold that up, Jason, that coin right there is, they don't make, it doesn't get any better than that coin.
For bartering and transactability, because
but Jason, just everything itself, for bartering, exchange, transactability, quality, purity. I mean, everything. It's such a great coin, and it is, by the way, IRA approved. So if you gave us a call, we can walk you through the different ins and outs of that coin as well. And there's certain, you know, again, I specifically that type of coin is one of my favorite coins.
Okay, because I know I'm going to get asked about it by friends and family who are on this call. I want you to tell me, I'm going to hold it up and say IRA approved or has to go to your house. So this one you just said, and this, by the way, this is $750. So this beautiful 1/4 ounce gold coin, $750. So this one you said has to be IRA, right?
No,
IRA approved.
Well, let's backtrack on it. So that actually is eligible for both. Okay, so that means you could buy it with direct delivery. If you send a bank wire, we can ship that to your home, which by the way, I have those in my gun safe too. Second, so that's actually can be sold both ways, can be for direct delivery and for the IRA. So that's an eligible coin for both.
All right, and then the 3/4 ounce.
The okay, that's the same. So that's going to be sold for direct delivery, Jason, and for IRAs for both. Fits both needs.
And then I already know the answer, but I'm going to hold up anyway. So
there we're talking right there. So that right there, that's a Kennedy $50, right? So we already know that that's only for your gun safe. Cannot be put in Nevada or Salt Lake City.
And then last, but certainly not least, this is our $5 commemorative.
All right. Well, that right there, as we know, that's a direct delivery purchase. That coin specifically going to be put inside your gun safe. Cannot be inside the IRA.
Awesome. All right, let me go and try and hit some more questions here as they're coming so fast. Let me see. What about Fed? So Jeff said St. George. I mean, St. George, you're an hour and a half from Vegas. So you're an hour and a half from where the Delaware depository is.
Right.
So, you're not super. I would say stupid. I don't know where that came from. You're not super far.
I'm not stupid either, Jason, but yeah, that's okay.
So Natalie says, hey, I don't own a home. I'm in an apartment. What do you suggest we do vault-wise since we can't bolt anything to the floor or any of that?
Can I answer that?
Yeah, go for it.
Natalie, I suggest you go to Amazon, buy yourself a gun safe, go to TaskRabbit, and find out how one of those guys can come and bolt your safe down to your ground. Put it in your closet.
Well, no, she said, I was going to say, Natalie, okay, she's saying since we can't bolt anything to the floor, I would do what he said and bolt it to the floor, and then you have somebody cover it up when you leave.
Or better yet, call a mother or father that you trust and put it on their floor, which if that happens, by the way, that's how it works.
It is funny. I was talking to a girl earlier today who was saying that she lives it's actually here in New York City. She's smart like us. I mean, she's prepared. And she has she said it was a tiny safe. I didn't ask how big, of her gold, silver at her parents' house. Because she lives in an apartment in New York City, doesn't want anything there. But I guess her parents are close enough and they own their home. And so that's where she has her valuables there. So that is, that's certainly a thing you can do. Let me see. Is there a link to purchase these coins?
Great question.
I know if you go to Gold Protect, so I'm going to answer a lot more questions, but here's what I did. If you go to goldprotects.com, and I'll put it in the chat box, or hey, Matt, put it in there if you don't mind. So please listen carefully to what I'm about to say, because Advantage Gold, they're my friends. I get gold from them. I like them. They do me favors by coming on here because they're wise. And I always try and squeeze stuff out of them, right? I say, hey, if people buy from you, obviously we want a deal, right? If you go to goldprotects.com, fill out the form, and they said that anybody who fills out the form, they will give a free Kennedy $50. Now, here's where I want to jump in. These guys have been very good to me. They take care of me. Please only do this if you actually are serious about buying gold or silver from them. Please do not waste their time if you have zero intention of basically have integrity. Like if you're going to fill out the form, have an interest in buying gold and silver, and they will send you this just for filling out the form. But if you have no interest whatsoever, please don't fill out the form, because then they'll yell at me. And I said, hey, give people something free if they do it. So you're going to get a free Kennedy $50 just by filling out the form. So that is the website for those that want to know. But let me and Sean, interrupt me if I screwed up anything there, but I'm pretty sure that's what Kirill is the owner, by the way. And he's the owner that I wheeled and dealed this with, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, and so, Jay, just so you know, our phones are open, just so everyone knows, our phones are going to be open for another hour and a half, 2 hours after this webinar as well.
And let me say another thing, because I'm very I have friends on here, I have family on here, extended family on this call. I told these guys, you better be awesome at answering the questions. Meaning I'm very protective of all my customers. I'm very protective of my friends and family, the ones I like, obviously. So when you call these guys, they're going to answer your questions, meaning they're going to be helpful. If they are not helpful and answer your questions, email me, jason@spybriefing.com. Very easy email. So not that you're going to have any issues, because they've been awesome to me and treating me very well. But if you don't get your questions answered, if you don't get what you need, let me know, because Sean here is the senior vice president of the company. Sean and I have each other's cell phones and numbers. I've never had to, but I can call Sean on my wonderful flip phone and be like, hey, Sean, your guy didn't answer this question. Please get it answered. So call them if you need anything. They're awesome. But let's go back to, okay, Luis said, how much is the Kennedy half dollar? The Kennedy half dollar is $16.87. How about that for being precise? So 17 bucks, right?
Yeah.
That's what it is. Can we work directly with Sean? Sean, I don't want to make you like totally uncomfortable here, but I also don't mind because there's hundreds of
Jason,
people.
I'm not taking any referrals at this point in time. So no, of course you can. Yes.
I was going to be like, Sean, you better be kidding.
Just
All
call
right.
and ask my assistant. No, of course you can call me. Call after and ask me directly. In fact,
Well, how do we okay? So I assume you don't want to give out your cell phone number on here.
I would love to. I don't think Kirill would love that much, but
Okay,
I
all
would
right. Okay. So but being serious here, if somebody wants to work directly with you, just say, hey, I want to deal with Sean.
In fact, I'll have Matt post my number there directly. I'll have one of our guys put my number there directly. Guys, you can call the office and ask for me directly. Ask for Sean. I'm here 24/7. And I mean that 24/7. Okay. Like
and if Sean doesn't take care of you, I'll cut off his other 3 fingers.
that's right.
So how's that for a crass joke?
Shoot, right? That's a good one. Or you'll take my thumb away, which would really hurt.
Sean, William asked you a good question. I know my personal answer, but I want to know your answer before I jump in.
Yeah.
William says, what percentage of your money do you recommend putting in precious metals?
99.9% of it, William. You know, so that's it. I get asked that all the time. You know, when I first started selling gold, Jason, I was always reluctant to answer that question because I didn't know what to tell people. I thought I would always throw 10% because that's what everyone hears, right? And then people are like, are you crazy? 10%. They say that in like a normal economic environment, like when this guy's in office or something, right? Okay. We're not in a normal economic environment right now. Things are changing day by day, hour by hour, right? So everybody is different, right? Guys, I don't believe in you should put all your eggs in one basket. That's not the way I believe. However, if you are weary about things, if you have money in retirements, if you have money in cash and you're all worried about things, don't worry about percentages. Give me a call, give us a call. We'll allocate that specifically to each client directly. Don't get so caught up right now in how much of my portfolio should I put into gold. Let's talk about that first. You know, we'll go over that together. That's what I say to that.
So mine, and this is totally me, 15%. Why 15%? That's what I'm comfortable with, honestly. So I, like you, Sean, I've heard people say, oh, it's got to be 10%. It's got to be 5%. What is your comfort level? 15% is comfort level for me. I'm totally happy with that. I sleep at night knowing that I've got, 15% good chunk of change there. And as I always tell people, if you're able to, if you have the means, have the 2-step process, meaning step 1 is the physical gold and silver at home. Step 2 is the physical gold and silver in your IRA, if you can. Somebody said, hey, moving past, or Gabe, this is one question I want to answer. He said, regarding the digital dollar, why haven't banks told their customers about the digital dollar if it's coming? Why have they been hush-hush about it? Because the banks know their customers are going to hate it. The banks know that there's going to be a huge backlash, and people already, don't like banks enough. So imagine if the banks, came to you and said, hey, everything is going to be tracked now. You are not going to be, when you come and do anything, when you sneeze wrong, when Jason goes and pays $80 cash to his car wash guy, everything's going to be tracked. So that's why the banks are being hush-hush about it, because they know that people are going to hate it. I mean, privacy is incredibly important to me. I value my privacy. That's why nobody knows where I live, meaning I hold my house in an LLC wrapped in a trust. You can't find out where I live, kind of thing. Funniest thing about me, not, my privacy, is I'd say like every 4 months, I get an email from some computer nerd. And he's like, Jason, you thought you were smart. In 15 minutes, I was able to pinpoint your home. Here's your address. You're not, I thought you were CIA. I thought you were supposed to be intelligent about this stuff. Well, I'm going to tell everybody where you live. And I don't respond because I never waste my time on trolls. But I want to say to him is, you're right, buddy. You found my address. Go wait at that door and wait for me to come. Because of course it's not my real address. of course I know what shows up when people search me.
Right.
Like, do people not think I've done my own background checks on myself and I know all the addresses? And all the addresses are dummy addresses that I intentionally put there. And so privacy is so important. That's the same thing. Like everything you find on me, I control it,
Yeah.
meaning I know what's out there. So when I talk about my stuff, I'm not going to tell you, hey, I have guns off the books, which I do, but I'm never going to tell you where those guns off the books are. I'm never going to say, hey, they're at 123 Main Street, and that's where I have five ARs, 5 pistols, and $10,000 worth of gold and silver at that address. So make sure you control what's out there about you. And that's, again, I got off on a tangent, but that's big into me is all the stuff. Let me see what else here, and jump in here, Sean, because I'm trying to do a lot of these.
Jason, I mean, good point. It's all about control, is it not? I mean, you're hitting it. It's all about control, guys. I mean, take control now. Let's be proactive. Let's not be reactive, right? So that's the whole call to action is, I think people are always waiting for something. It's like everyone's waiting for July 1st. Everybody's waiting for Independence Day. So why wait now? Why not do something about it right now and take the action now? So that's the way that's how I feel about it.
This is what I tell everybody. Like I have a bunch of private clients. I'm like, I realize we all have different income levels. We all have different means. Many clients I work with are just multimillionaires. And again, they got 6-figure Rolex watches. Well, I don't have that. I can't afford it. But whatever you can afford, like, don't wait. I mean, start getting the physical, tangible assets. Like I think you're crazy if you're waiting. Looking over here, Adil asked a question. I want to have you answer it. She says, can you please let me know if I need to declare any gold bullion that I buy outside the country and bring into the US if it is less than $10,000? From what I understand, you don't have to declare it if it's less than 10K, right?
Jason, what was her name again?
Adil.
Adele, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Adele, that's a tax question.
I forgot. You got to dodge it.
You guys you're okay. That's a slippery slope. Can we ask some other questions?
I'm not a tax guy, but from what I would do is you don't have to declare anything for 10 grand. And again, I'm walking around with like $20,000+ with gold coins right now, New York City. But yeah, obviously I'm not outside of the country right now. Let's see what else we got here. Geez, there's so many questions. I'm trying to yeah, Mike says, as a CPA, I advise clients to allocate a percentage they're comfortable with. And again, I 110% agree with that.
Yeah.
15% is my magic number. Whatever reason, that's just how I sleep better. That's honestly what it is. It gives me peace of mind. Like during the pandemic, when everybody was rushing to the grocery store, when everybody was losing their mind, I had people trying to go to the bank to get money, and the banks were closed those first few days of COVID, right? When they're like, Jason, I can't. And I was like, why didn't you prepare? Like, I didn't freak out at all. I didn't have to go to the grocery store because I had my food. I had my gold and silver at home. I had my cash at home. I didn't need anything. Like I was like a pig in slop, just sitting there. And I don't have to leave my house for weeks kind of thing. So Jason, start doing that stuff. So you're fine. Yes, Sean.
I don't think your viewers know I'm from California originally, right? So most people got it. By the way, a lot of people on this call are probably from California originally too. But this all happened from COVID, right? So this whole preparation thing started from California. So I've always been preaching this kind of method and ideology throughout my whole life, man. So this whole prepping thing isn't new to me, so to speak. So that's the whole thing.
So another question I saw here is somebody always asks about the gold bars. Yeah. And I personally, and again, Sean, you jump in here. I don't like the gold bars because they're harder for people to wrap their mind around. They're harder to transact. Some of the big gold, I mean, we held some gold bars at this depository that were worth tens of thousands of dollars. Mm-hmm. And people much better understand a coin kind of thing. They can wrap their head around coins, and I don't want to have to sit there and try and like cut up a gold bar to be like, all right, here's $500 for you. Here's $500 for you. So I personally don't like gold bars. Everything I have is some type of gold and silver coin because it makes more sense. If I'm bartering, people understand that better. I can show them, hey, it's, it says on it 99% pure silver type of thing. But I don't know, you got any gold bars or anything?
Yeah, I got a couple. Hey, listen, again, Bars aren't bad. Bars aren't bad at all. It just depends on what type of client. Everybody is different, Jason. My mother loves bars. So that's specifically.
What was that just coming at you, by the way?
We've got issues here, but going back to the bars situation is I specifically don't mind bars at all. I just limit the amount of bars that I buy, so to speak. Okay. So bars are made by private companies, guys, whereas coins are actually minted by government mints, just so you know.
Another question, credit unions and banks, they're all doing this FedNow stuff. So the whole banking system, everybody's going to be doing this.
Right.
So it's not like credit unions are going to be any different, any safer. Everybody everybody's going to be affected kind of thing.
Right.
Let me see what else here. I'm just trying to, there's so many different questions here. Don't they make small fractional gold? They do make small fractional gold bars. It's my personal preference. I don't like gold bars. Sean clearly does. His mom clearly does. Or grandma.
No, I clearly do not. Let's make that very clear.
I thought you just said you like.
No. I say if you buy a certain amount of them, they're okay. Once you get over a certain amount of them, I'm not okay. My mother loves them, Jason. My mother. I don't buy them. I like coins. Let's keep that in mind.
All right, let's see. All right, what else? So what other questions you have, guys? I mean, we've covered a lot here. I know I told people it was going to be even hour long. I've talked about what I'm doing in my 20-acre mini farm, my chickens, my turkeys, my fruit trees, all that kind of stuff. Let me know what kind of last few questions you have here. Well, you know, it's hard. I'm going back and forth and all kind of that's kind of thing here. Here's one good question. Somebody asked me how you cash these in. I obviously buy my coins from Advantage Gold. I cashed them in once, even though I didn't need the money because I wanted to do the process. And this was as I was getting comfortable with these guys, making sure, obviously now I trust them or I wouldn't have invited them on here. But I kind of like I test people basically, right? So I said to him, I said, all right, I want to cash out some of my gold, just a little bit. And all they did was send me a prepaid envelope, was a UPS envelope. I went to the UPS store, dumped a few coins in a box, returned them, and then they, sent me the money back in them, put in my account. So it was a stupidly easy process, which is how I wanted and what I was hoping. But yeah, if you all of a sudden decide and be like, hey, I've got $10,000 worth of gold coins in my vault, and I'm having a huge emergency cash crunch, I need money. You get that UPS prepaid envelope thing. You put your coins in there. I wrap mine like crazy with duct tape. I wanted to make sure my coins weren't going anywhere and all that kind of stuff. I put it in the box. I send it back to them, and then they send me my money. So that is
Biden bucks now, so to speak, Jason.
Biden bucks.
It'll
be Biden bucks.
You're forgetting that you're not getting dollars anymore. You're getting digital money now.
Soon it will be, which is why that was meaning it was a test to sell my gold and silver because I was testing you guys. But yeah, I don't ever really sell my gold and silver. I don't ever sell my guns. I've never sold a gun in my life. Everybody that I know who's sold guns has said, oh, I regret that Mauser I sold in 1973, or hey, I used to have a Colt revolver, a Colt Python that I sold in 1980. Everybody I know that sold guns has been freaking out and wish they didn't sell their guns. So that's why I've never sold it. Let's see. If SHTF, how do I eat coins? Great question. That's why, yeah, I 100% agree. You need to have your staples first, meaning have your food, have your water, and then get your coins. So clearly, if you're buying coins now and you don't have food storage and you don't have water storage, you need to reverse that.
Yeah, don't call us.
Because, I mean, I told you I don't know if I told you this, Sean, the famous CIA story where somebody needed food and only had gold and needed water too. And the story was you can't drink gold. So get your priorities in order first, have your food storage, have your water storage, then get your gold and silver. So when I build up my food storage for my family, I build up my food storage, and then I started buying gold and silver. So definitely do that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, when somebody mention Biden bucks is what we're calling that digital currency he's rolling out. So whenever it gets rolled out, which it's going to happen, folks. I mean, it's not like the federal government's not going to do it, especially when all these other countries around the world are doing it too. So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's a year.
48 hours from now. It's supposed to
Well, I
happen.
mean, that's, yeah, the FedNow goes in place July 1.
Right. Everything is supposed to take place.
Right, but I'm talking about the real Biden digital
Right.
currency, the official one.
Right.
6 months, a year, 2 years, who knows? But it's going to happen. It's inevitable, which is why I keep begging you to stock up on as many tangible physical assets as you can. That is the name of the game, physical assets. So let me see what else here. Yes, this call is being recorded. We did record it, so I'll probably send out a link tomorrow, type of thing. Let me see. Like, yeah, Andrea said she just purchased a freeze dryer. That's awesome. Have a freeze dryer.
Good point.
We have a grain mill, because we have some 5-gallon buckets full of grain where you got to have a grain mill. Have some can openers, like have those type of common sense things, which far too many Americans don't have. Why do I need gold and silver if I have cash? Because it's diversification. Because maybe somebody doesn't want cash. I mean, I'll tell you, like, intelligence stories without getting in trouble. Not everybody wants cash. Some people may only work with you if you have gold, if you have precious metals. So it's about being able to get what you want, because some people are going to say, I don't want that cash. That dollar's worthless. Okay, you've got a gold coin that's worth $750. That's what I want. So it's options. That's why I have gold and silver. That's why I have cash, is it gives me options. Plus, I don't think the price of gold and silver is going to like drop to zero like the stock market. I think over time, because of inflation, because of all the junk our government does, the price of gold and silver is only going to go up. So I look at it as, hey, I've got something that is real money. It's been around for thousands of years. Plus, it's going to go up in value, so I'm going to make money off of it. Yeah, the dollar's, Irving says it perfectly. The dollar's worthless now. This has been worth something for thousands of years. It's going to be worth something until the day we die. So that's why I have it. Let's see what else. I think that about covers it. I hope everybody here has learned a thing or two. I hope you understand how serious this digital dollar is, how traceable it is, how everything's going to be taxable now. Don't let anybody tell you you're a conspiracy theorist. Don't let anybody tell you it's never going to happen. I promise you, I assure you it's going to happen. I don't know when it's going to happen. I can't predict that part, but it is going to happen. So stock up on as much physical assets as you can. That's why I was fat and happy during COVID, because I had all my physical stuff in my house. I didn't have to freak out. I wasn't worried at all. And my phone was ringing off the hook with friends, family members, clients being like, okay, I want gold and silver. I want survival food. Don't be that person. Stock up now. Anything else you want to add here, Sean, before we wrap up?
You know, there's a good saying, right? Fear is healthy, panic is deadly. Right, Jason? And that's a good thing to keep in mind with what we're doing here. We're all on this call right now for a healthy, fearful reason, right? Because we want to be proactive in things. Let's not get to panic mode. So I encourage everyone on this call to give us a call me directly, ask me, call the company. Let's go over your specific needs. Let's go over everything else and, kind of walk everyone through one-on-one, give everyone a one-on-one consultation so I can talk to them personally. That would be important.
And I will say this, because you guys are my friends, because you're my family, because you're my customers, call Sean, pick his brain, pick his brain for everything. If you have any problems, which I know you won't, but I'm OCD about people I care about. If you have any problems, let me know and I'll handle it, but you're not going to have problems. So call Sean, call his team. They'll take good care of you. If you need anything from me, jason@spybriefing.com, go to goldbertex.com, fill out the form. You'll get the free Kennedy $50. But remember what I said, be honest. Don't do it just to rip my guys off. When I say my guys, my friend, Sean and them. Do it if you actually have intent. If there's anything I can do for you about any of the physical assets we've talked about, the farmland, the gold, the silver, the survival food, anything, I want to help you. I love this stuff. This is my mission. I love you guys. So reach out to Sean, reach out to me. God bless you. Please take this seriously and have a wonderful rest of your evening.
God bless you guys. Thank you so much, Jason. Appreciate you.
Awesome. Thank you for joining me. And thank you for giving the time, Sean. I know you got a million things to do, like partying in Vegas. So thanks for helping out for me.
Tons of that.
All right. Thank you, guys. We're going to close this out now. Have a good evening.
Appreciate you guys.